And welcome back, everyone, to Who Would Win. Ironically, this Who Would Win comes to us from Jason Voorhees himself, who asked the question, who would win in a fight, him or the Crow? Both semi-immortals, both Avengers, Revengers. It's a little difficult to say how they're taking vengeance in one way or another, although Jason's a lot more indiscriminate. But I believe his name is, what was his name? Eric something? Eric Draven? Eric Daven? The Crow. Hold on. Crow's name is Eric Draven. That's right. He had Raven in there. was like, I believe he was like a rocker or something like that, and his girlfriend ends up getting killed by some, was it bikers or cultists or something like that? Hold on. I do have the synopsis here. Let's see here. He leaves for the hospital with Shelly. His fiance, a rock musician, who was killed, attacked, being stabbed. On Devil's Night in Detroit, Police Sergeant Abernack survives a crime. A young woman named Shelly Webster had been raped and gravely wounded. Her fiance, rock musician Eric Draven, was killed in the attack, having been stabbed, shot, and thrown out from the window of their loft apartment. As he leaves for the hospital with Shelly, he meets a young girl named Sarah, who Shelly and Eric look after. He comforts Sarah when she realizes Shelly is going to die from her injuries. A year later, she visits both Shelly and Eric's grave. Basically, they were attacked by a gang, and more or less, Eric came back from the dead as the Crow. He's known as a Reborn, and he's got the Crow has its own comic series too. He's known as a Reborn, but let's be honest, he's a Revenant, is what is more or less what he is. Now, he has many abilities that most Revenants wouldn't have. And he doesn't need to eat or drink, so he's not like blood hungry. He's not decaying or anything like that. He basically is self-sustaining. He is functionally immortal. He's got supernaturally enhanced physicality. He can see and sense things through the eyes of a raven. He is empathic. He has physical empathy. He can feel other people's emotions. He does have the ability to help people recover, as he did when he drained the morphine from a woman's arm, giving her a chance. He's also got enhanced recovery, able to recover from most things without too much difficulties. He's just quick to regenerate. However, in the comics, it's actually described he has a limitation. He once cut his wrists, and that didn't immediately heal up, so he covered it up with tape, not packing tape or duct tape, electrical tape. He covered it up with electrical tape. So he does apparently have limitations to it. And because the Crow is familiar, if that Crow is killed, he will lose his powers very quickly. Still, though, he's a very dangerous, very capable individual who just seeks vengeance on those who do wicked, which really is both Jason and Jason's MO at the same time. They're both kind of individuals who seek their own type of vengeance, I guess is the best way to put it. Because we know the story of Jason Voorhees. Jason Voorhees is an elder statesman of this Who Would Win channel. He was deformed as a kid. He was probably developmentally impaired. His mother loved him, but he ended up drowning in the lake. His mother went on a killing spree on get revenge on the people who allowed it to happen. Turns out he survived, lived in the woods, and then was killed, came back, killed, came back, killed, came back, so forth, so on. And there are, like I've stated before, there are multiple canonicities of Jason. There's the standard movie line. There's the comic version. There's Jason X within the Uber Jason, which is his own separate thing. There's the rebooted Jason. So there are many different Jason Voorheeses here. But what does Jason bring to the table here? Well, Jason's real claim to fame is he just really can't die in any real... in any lasting capacity. You have to actually blow his ass up to stop him. Either by the way they did in Jason X, where they're literally blowing holes through him, blowing his head off. And that would have worked had the damn nanotech not just kicked in and saved his ass. That would have put him down for good. Or in Jason X, where they had a task force blow his ass up, but then the coroner got, the demonized possession. I'm not quite sure exactly how that one worked, because he wasn't possessed by Jason at that time. He was just drawn to eat his heart which then possessed him. So my guess is the spirit of Jason endured. To go a little Lord of the Rings there, and it was just kind of manipulating him, kind of like the One Ring. One heart to eat them all, one heart to find them. But it makes me wonder, what was he eating in that scene? I mean, obviously it wasn't a real heart. I wonder what they made to look like a heart that he was eating. Jello, maybe, or some gelatin. Not quite sure. Oh, sorry, excuse me. But I digress. So, Jason still is able to nearly come back from anything. In the original line of movies, the only thing that could kill him was another Voorhees with a special dagger. In Jason X, he doesn't seem to. In fact, in any of the other Jason movies, Freddy vs. Jason or whatnot, he doesn't really seem to have that limitation. Even though Freddy vs. Jason should be in continuity with at least Jason Goes to Hell, but. So yeah, and then you got the human one in the reboot, and then you got the comics one, which is who can just heal from just about anything. Like the healing factor on that son of a bitch is nuts. And then there's Uber Jason, who literally can survive re-entry through an atmosphere. All the Jasons, though, have insane strength, varying to certain degrees, but insane levels of strength. Insane durability and endurance. They can just keep taking hits over and over, being small arm or large arm fire. Jason kept getting up in Jason X after his leg was gone, arm was gone, torso was shot out, and he kept getting back up until his head got shot. Like, the man would just not go down. And then Uber Jason, like I said, is durable enough to survive all that firearm fire without any sort of injury, capable of surviving the vacuum of space, re-entry into a planet's atmosphere, and then colliding into the planet's surface. So Uber Jason is the most durable Jason of all, but more or less. And his strength got amped up to the point where he was just ripping through metal doors like it was nothing. And obviously he carries his trademark machete with him most of the time, although he's capable with most weapons, to be frank. Pardon. Now, there is a catch to Jason, though. With the exception of the rebooted Jason we got, I believe it was 2009, Jason is not fast. Now, this might not be because he's incapable of running. This might be because he just doesn't feel the need to waste the energy, because he just knows he's going to get you eventually. It's believed Jason can teleport, and they do that in the game, apparently, that he can teleport. But the game isn't canon, first off, as far as I know. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. But the game isn't canon. Even if it is, until someone actually, who created Jason and went on to create his whole lore, flat out says he can teleport, that's not a confirmation. It just isn't. Because it's designed for the gameplay. Everyone has been joking about Jason teleporting, so it makes sense for that in the game. Let's give him the ability to teleport. People think Michael Myers can teleport too. I'm going to tell you right now, that's a load of shit. Michael Myers can teleport. That is a bull. He is just so freaking supernaturally smooth that he can just move across a yard without setting a motion sensor off. That's how smooth he is. But the man cannot fucking teleport. Jason is still up for debate. Because Jason didn't start out supernatural as the thing. He ended up becoming supernatural. Regardless, it's even if he could teleport, it seems to be a very limited form of it, where he must need to be like within line of sight with whoever he wants to use it. And so Jason, but still, Jason. His biggest weakness actually is just his low intelligence. He's not dumb in a traditional sense. He's not book smart, but he's still very dangerous in the sense that he's got, academic, practical smarts. He knew how to survive in the woods. He knew how to take care of himself actually on his own. He knows how to trap someone. He knows how to lure someone. But knows how to sneak up. He knows how to strategize and turns out a sneak kill pretty good. Which, to be fair, is Jason's primary method of killing, is like ambush killing. Granted, he will just face off with somebody and kill them right out, and he's perfectly capable of doing it. The boxing scene in Manhattan's one of the probably the only really good scene in that movie. But Jason prefers just to like sneak, kill, all that. So, with all this being said, which one of these guys would win in a fight? The Crow, both these guys have the immense recovery powers, the supernaturally enhanced physicality. Both are pretty much impervious to pain. So who actually wins that fight? Well, the Crow's definitely got an edge in intelligence. He's actually capable of strategizing, all that. And this would also depend on where the fight is taking place. If it's a more modern setting, like more like a town or Billy or New York or whatever, Crow is having the edge there. I'm not saying he's going to win, but he has the edge there. But if it's in like a forested lake, Camp Crystal Lake, where Jason, lives, then Jason has the home field advantage there. So who would win? I guess it would be Crow would probably, and he's also more capable of using firearms than Crow. He brings them all the time. Starts to maybe firing at Jason. Jason just boom, 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 boom. If it's the Uber Jason, he just ding, 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 and just starts walking in there. Crow would then start maybe getting a bit more physical, trying to avoid Jason. Jason is surprised. He's not necessarily like hurt, but he's like, oh, this guy's strong. Okay, boom. And they come back. They are duking it out. And it's going to be, at this point, a battle of attrition. If it's Uber Jason, Crow can't beat Uber Jason. He has nothing to take Uber Jason down. So let's throw Uber Jason out of the equation. Any of the other versions. The problem here is, with this battle of attrition, it's coming down to who can do more damage and who can take more damage. And unfortunately, the answer to both is Jason. Jason, we've seen take far more than the Crow ever took. Even like just standard main series Jason took way more damage than the Crow ever did. And the Crow has an actual weakness. If you take out that Crow, if you take out his familiar, that is going to completely wreck his power set. And so he's got a severe weakness on his hand there. And if Jason is somehow able to figure that out, which who knows? He did when he used to eat birds, probably, and maybe even ate some crows at one point. Maybe the Crow even attacks him at one point. He just grabs him and then that's the end of the Crow. But let's assume the Crow doesn't do that. The Crow still actually has a limitation on what he can recover from. As we learned from the comics, when he slit his wrist, they did not immediately heal. So he had to wrap it up in electrical tape until they fully recovered. Jason gets a decapitation, a dismemberment of any kind, runs him through with a machete. That's a wound he's not prepared to heal from. He may be able to heal from it eventually, at least anything that's not decapitation, but otherwise, Jason can survive. He's survived far worse than that, honestly. So, yeah, and honestly, in a battle of attrition, that is really who's going to win this fight, I think, is the one who can just take more and dish out more. And on both regards, that's Jason. Jason has displayed better physical strength overall than the Crow has, and he has a more formidable weapon than the Crow has. The only scenario I could actually see Jason or the Crow winning in is if he's able to actually disarm Jason, get the machete out of his hands, and actually go not for the chest, stomach, or whatever, but go for the neck or the head. If he's able to basically cut his throat, cutting his throat, we actually won't really do anything. He's going to have to decapitate him, or at least just straight through the head, so a different kind of decapitation, straight through the brain, and rip, because otherwise, that Crow doesn't have a winning play here. So the last question is, how likely is it the Crow could win? I'll be actually honest here. It's actually a lot more than I initially thought it would be, because he is actually a much more intelligent individual overall than Jason. Jason's simple. He's not dumb, but he's, again, no book smarts. But when he was alive, he could survive. So he's not dumb. He's just simplistic. Eric's not. The Crow is not. Crow is more complex thinking, and therefore better strategist. If he's figuring Jason's going for his head, well, the logical thing is go for Jason's head. All he has to do is get a weapon that can do it. And luckily, because the Crow would have at least, maybe not better physical strength, but comparable. If Jason is all the way up here, Crow is probably hovering more around there. Strong enough to contend, certainly, but probably not strong enough to actually straight out beat him. But that's enough to wrestle the machete out and says, maybe take off a hand, too, just to be sure he doesn't grab him. And Jason's just... And all of a sudden just... So, despite what it was sounding like early on, I would actually give it to the Crow here. Granted, he's going to have to go through hell again, and there's no guarantee of it, and he's probably going to get really effed up. But yes, I actually think the Crow would probably take the win due to having at least comparable abilities to Jason. Comparable, not equal or greater. But being the smarter and more strategic, technically, in a fight. Jason has very simplistic strategies, doesn't even really have a strategy in the fight. He's just got tactics for hunting people, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, I will go with the Crow. But this is just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. We're getting close to the spoopy times, and when the spoopy times come, the Halloween ones roll out. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you folks next time.